Welcome to Virtuous Society. I'm your host, Itamar, and on this show, we dive deep into the world of Web3 gaming, community building, and much more. Today, I'm excited to welcome Josh Jones, co founder and co CEO of Cornucopias. Cornucopias is an open world MMO-style metaverse project with a very ambitious vision. Josh shared valuable insights into how he and his team created a culture that not only united their team, but also shaped their community as an extension. It was an open and honest discussion about prioritizing people above all else. And I found it both meaningful and also really enjoyable. I want to thank Josh again for joining us. Enjoy the episode. Hello, Josh. Thank you for being here.
Hey, good to see you. How's it going?
It's going well. It's going well. And we have a very interesting episode, I believe, and I wanted to kick it off with first and foremost, what is Cornucopias and what makes it stand out from other Web3 games?
Sure. Yeah. So Cornucopias is a Web3 game, and it's set in a setting where humanity has had a great calamity on Earth, and they were forced to ascend into the clouds. And there was some technology that they used to build these giant domes in the clouds. And basically, the game is that you have a variety of quests and fun things that you can go do. So, like by traveling from dome to dome, and each dome has a different curated experience where you can try crafting, combat, racing, fishing, exploration, and more, and mining even. So there's just a big amount of variety in our world, and there's a variety of theme zones as well, where you can explore a totally different, unique environment. Um, the the way that we've set ourselves apart, the first thing I would say is that it's people. So, and by people I mean our team and also the community that we've built. So with our team, we were very careful to build people that were skilled, highly skilled at whatever the role is, but also very passionate about what they do, that they love what they do, kind of thing. And we've done a great job in that regard. And then with our community, the goal has always been that we want to build trust and intentionally build trust with our community and build relationships with our community, because to me the Web3 ethos is that we're kind of in this together, we're doing this together.
100%.
And that's a powerful thing. And I absolutely love our community. They're amazing. You can get into our Discord and they'll gladly show you around the game. They'll gladly help you out with any questions you have. We just have a lot of people that are fun and creative and passionate, and they love what we're doing, and we're having a great time together. We get in there a lot of times and go explore the game. We'll get 30 of us in there just running around doing different things. So it's fun. But we are at pre-alpha stage, so we're still very early. But I think another element of what sets us apart is the quality of what we've built in a very efficient amount of time, a very short amount of time. We've produced a AAA quality game in 3 years. Now it's not complete. We've released that in 3 years. Typically that takes 5 to 10. And at 5 or at 10, it's a more complete version of the game. Well, we've been able to release something sooner, but that being said, we still have to add a lot of content to that. But what the testament to our team there is that we've been very up to speed on Unreal Engine 5, which is what our game is built on. And we're just executing very well. We're organized and we're delivering, and we've been delivering since 2021 over and over and over. And so that's what I would say. I'm really proud of the quality of our graphics, the performance of the game. So building a game that's performant with multiplayer is incredibly challenging. You have to optimize so we have a very high level of graphics that makes multiplayer so much more challenging because that's a lot more data, which means we have to optimize those graphics to use less data, and we have to make optimizations all throughout what we're the code, etc. And we've done a great job of staying on top of that. Our game director has done an excellent job of really making sure that it always remains performance. But that being said, there's always issues. I think we've done a great job in that regard, and it does set us apart significantly.
So how does one get such a competent team? Like, how do you build a team of A-listers? How do you get them? How do you retain them from your perspective? Like, how have you approached it?
Well, interestingly enough, some of the people that we've brought on were passionate community members that had their own skill set already that they'd been working on for quite some time. And some of those have been our best hires,
Nice.
and then some has been through referrals. So I remember early on, I was introduced to this guy's videos on YouTube, and I went and I checked him out, and I was blown away. It was very clear he had a good eye for design, for what looks good, for quality, and so I was like, I want to talk to this guy. So I reached out to him on Discord, and he blew me off for about a month and a half, maybe even 2 months. I had to keep pinging him and pinging him and pinging him. And finally I was like, man, you just give me 5 minutes, a video call of 5 minutes or 15 minutes, and let's have a chat. So that's how you're going to make me go away. And he's like, all right, fine. So we meet, and then, he was one of our first really solid hires that has excelled and worked his way up from the art director position all the way to the game director position. He's been very passionate, insanely high work ethic, and he's been a great team member. And we've got a lot of stories like that where we've just chosen people based upon something that we see, a quality that we're looking for a particular role. And then also we're intentional about interviewing with multiple people, at least 2 to 3 interviews typically is what you'll have to get hired with us, and references checked and all sorts of stuff. We're thorough about hiring, and for good reason. I mean, that's many mistakes that I've made in the past as I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. You can sell yourself on people to your own detriment. Everybody's putting their best face on when they meet with you in an interview, but you've got to look for those red flags and things like that,
Sure.
because it's just it's so crucial that you build a team where it's a cultural fit. It makes sense, and they're going to align well and work well together, because a lot of our team is working well together. And some of the big challenges are, because this is a Web3 based project, there's a lot of additional passion from the team members, and that's a good thing. That's a strength. But at the same time, that can create, if people differ on something, I got to come in and be the peacekeeper sometimes. And
that passion could go both ways.
Yeah.
So you alluded to your previous experience as an entrepreneur. Can you give us some more context? What have you done before Cornucopias?
Sure. So I've been in technology, for like the last 2 endeavors. One of them was a food service and technology company. So basically, we built out delivery software that helped us manage a team of delivery drivers that would go and pick up food from restaurants. It was right along the lines of the Grubhub type of deal. And honestly, that's the most relevant one that I can mention. And the reason I say that is it was the most challenging business model to execute on that I've ever had. And so I had challenges in every single area: logistics, operational complexity, all sorts of things. And really, that was my training grounds that turned me from someone who thought they were an entrepreneur to someone that had to learn a variety. It just gave me the necessary experience in startup to really build something that was incredibly challenging. I would
Very
never
full of fire.
redo that again. like, but at the same time, I'm very thankful because it taught me a lot. I refined a lot of skills that have carried into this that really make sense.
Is there any like the? I presume that a lot of the skills that you picked up have translated, but is there like a specific lesson from that period that you're now applying to Cornucopias that like stands out?
Um, uh, Wait, sorry, can you ask that again?
Do you have like any like one thing, like one lesson, one something that you picked up
Oh,
from
well,
the vast
directly
experience?
relevant to the people thing. Like I
Hmm.
really, I had to hire, we built that team up to about 120 to 140 people overall.
Hmm.
Um, and on top of that number, delivery drivers are
Yeah.
the highest turnover, and service
Okay.
industry are the highest turnover job roles ever. And so I had to learn a lot about onboarding, training,
Hmm.
interviewing. There was just so many interviews that I did because I wanted to make sure that anybody that represents our company represents it well. So I met every delivery driver that we hired before we hired them. And that's just the
Nice.
delivery team,
Yeah.
which and then we've got the office team and the software team as well. So that that is what probably helped the most in
Hmm.
realizing how important the people are and your choices around them and the processes around how you bring people in, um, and how you care for them once they're with you as well, like taking care of your people, your team, your community, your family, these kinds of things. um,
So
yeah.
you
And
would you
it's
say it's the first? Would you say it's the same kind of job in Cornucopias now in terms of like your day to day? Is it onboarding, getting more people in, training them, or is it different in that regard? There's like
No, it's
now
it's quite a bit
co-CEO.
less in frequency, but I think that the frequency with the other one
Yeah.
was so incredibly high because of the high turnover that
Hmm.
I just really had to optimize, refine, and learn. Um, you know, when you're meeting somebody face to face, what are the, what how does that go? How does that interaction go? Learning to read people, all sorts of things like that. Um, you know, it's it's important to really create that culture that you want. That's another thing that sets us apart, as well as is the culture that we've created, not just in our team but also our community. Culture is an important thing for a CEO to think about.
Tell me more.
And you know what?
Let's unpack
Speaking
it.
of people, like the co-CEO, I mentioned him to you
Hmm.
when we were talking in our initial chat. We typically do these kinds of
Hmm.
podcasts together, but he has been an excellent person. Like he's become a close friend, but also
Hmm.
just a great business partner. He's got an insane work ethic, and we really balance each other out. And we have conflict, plenty of conflict, but everybody does, especially
Usually
if
a
you see
sign
them
of
on
a
a
good
daily
partnership.
basis.
Yeah.
Even though we see each other via video, we're halfway around the world from each other almost. But um, we work together a lot, and we work really well, and it creates a nice balance and division of skills that we apply to making the company better. And we both have the same goal, and we're aligned on the vision and the game that we want to create and build. So it's been really awesome.
Nice. You alluded to culture earlier. So what does that mean to you? Like, what does that word mean in practice?
That's a great question. So what kind of environment are you bringing people into? What are the processes? What's the way you communicate? What are the values of the organization? What are the values of our community in our Discord? You
Hmm.
have to think about things like this. Vision, mission, values, these kinds of things help to solidify a culture that is aligned with the mission and what you're trying to execute on delivering. And I think that uh, it's incredibly important to me, at least, that our team feels cared for, that they matter, that they're listened to, that we have an efficient culture, um, that we don't have a lot of waste and inefficiency, that we move fast, that we're passionate, we work hard. Um, this is the kind of culture that is actually it's attracting others that are in our community and they want to come
Hmm.
work for us, like I'd mentioned before. Um, so hopefully that answers your question.
It does. Like in terms of like applying it, I feel is something that people that I've talked to in the past, either on the show or not on the show, have struggled with. Like, how do I, mainly from a community perspective, but also from a team's perspective? Like, I want a certain culture, like, I have a vision of how I want my team or how I want my community to interact with each other, what I want them to do, but I just can't bring them to do it. So, I'm not sure if you had similar challenges, but if you have, and even if you didn't, how do you, let's say, recommend you apply certain, let's say, behaviors or guidelines in order to create and preserve the culture that you have in mind and actually turn it into a reality?
How do you do well? So how do you execute on building the culture that you ideally would want to have?
Exactly.
That's the question.
Hmm.
Okay, to make sure that I understand it before I answer. So part of it is hiring according to certain things that you're looking for,
Hmm.
right? So it's what are the qualities that you're looking for in a person. We want to have a diverse organization, but we also want to have a highly skilled and highly passionate organization as well. And so it's thinking through getting really good at interviewing and talking to people and learning and being thorough at that part to make sure that they align with our values, and values is one of the main things. So if you nail what your values are, that's a significant element of what your culture is. And so that really matters to define those.
So,
So you know one of our values is transparency. Another another one is passion. People that really want to, they're
hmm
really passionate about what they do, they love what they do. Another one is people. But we've got quite a few values that we've talked our way through, and we've narrowed them down to a few. But um, these values are incredibly important, to giving people clues as to what this project or this company is about. So that helps. But that's kind of a really high level answer, because it really gets into, when you talk about how, it really gets into what is the, how do you execute on um, establishing the systems that allow somebody to get aligned with what they're going to do, and the processes and the parts of their job, and how do all of those interrelate, and the communication systems as well. And your process for, another one is, we want to be a learning organization. We want to learn from our mistakes, because we make plenty. And humility is another value. It's not a declared value, but it's something that matters to us. Is the Are the people that we're hiring, do they have humility, or do they just think they're the best? Because if they think they're the best, then there's no coaching, there's no teaching them. And that kind of arrogance, you can't really work with and help get somebody aligned with what it is that your vision is and your mission. And so there's potential for conflict. So it's really, the question you're asking is a hard one, because there's so much to that. That is a big job, and it's really important, the people you put together. And so, I mean, I think about it all the time, and I'm still not where I want to be with developing our culture, but I think we've done a great job at the same time.
I think so as well. Like uh, for my research
No, well,
of the
thanks.
of the project. Um, One thing that I wanted to ask you as a follow up to this is, you mentioned skill and you mentioned passion. Which one would you say is more important from your perspective?
Oh, um, I want to say that I can't. I don't.
You're like, I need both.
So I guess maybe passion, because if you love what you do, but you don't have the skills yet, then I would say it's only a matter of time. As long as you have
Mhm.
the humility, you can be taught and you can learn and get there. So I think really loving what you do is probably the most important. Um, because if you really love
I
what you
agree.
do, then you should be
Yeah,
learning, you know.
you should be
I would
learning.
want to know why are your skills not there yet if you
Yeah.
really love this, like, and how long have you been doing this? Because they typically go hand in hand. If
Hmm.
you really love something, you're probably, if you've had any
You should
degree of
improve
time
by
with it at
default.
all, you've
Yeah.
you've dove into it and you're curious and you've learned and improved it and all of these things.
Yeah, I agree. I like it. So, um, I think Cornucopias shares some similarities to Star Atlas, in mainly
Yeah,
just
I
the,
like
the
those guys.
ambitious scope, I would say. In the
I
ambitious
was
scope, we had
actually on a
Miguel here.
panel with Wagner, the
Oh, nice.
CEO,
Yeah,
about 3 months ago, 2 months ago,
yeah.
somewhere around there. Rare Evo. We were at a conference together, and I was on a panel with him. Great guy, great project. I love what they're doing.
Yeah, they're a great team. So you are sharing similarities, I would say, in the scope of ambition and also in just the diverse just game loops. When we had Miguel here, he mentioned that they have received, I would say, mixed feedback from the community or people that are necessarily didn't necessarily convert into community members, but swung by the Discord. Some were critical of the fact that they're trying to do too much. Have you ever felt that to be the case from
Oh,
your
these are people
community?
that have said that about us.
No, I'm asking if you had a similar experience to Star Atlas with people kind of maybe doubting the
Oh,
amount of stuff that you're doing or the ambition of the project.
well, I doubt it, to be honest. But actually, it's at the same time. So I want to give full context to what I just said.
Yeah,
At the same time, that's what attracts me to this job, that the vision is big and that we do have a lot to do. But yeah, there's you could easily look at what we have on our roadmap and what we need to execute on, and it's a lot. Um, but I also don't want to get into something if I'm not going to work on it for 5 to 10 years. And I love what I do. I love our job. I love this community that we're building. I love the team that I'm working with. And um, so, if it was a small vision and easy to, it was super easy to execute on, I don't think I'd be interested.
hmm
Um, Now that being said, you could say that trying to do too much is a weakness, um, but only time will tell on that, because if you have a big vision and you can execute on it, then that's irrelevant. And
yeah.
we've proven over the last 3 years that we continue to execute, we continue to deliver. So to me, that's not an objection that has any validity.
So how do you get the team to like go again? Because obviously, I assume that 2020 or 2021 was a challenging year, then another one, then another one. Like, how do you get the team to just go again and again and again with a project that is so like long term? Like there is no gratification for a long time.
Yeah. How do you get the team to go remain? Well, again, that goes back to are they passionate about what they do?
Hmm.
Because if you're passionate about what you do, you got a lot more staying power to continue it because you love what you do. So that that goes back to that as well.
Hmm.
But how else do you do that? Well, number one, you have to take care of people. You have to make them, they need to matter to you. Um, and that was one thing that I learned back with the delivery and software tech service that I built. Was it it was about a year and a half into it, and I'm like, I need to get to know my entire team better. And so I actually set up 15 to 30 minute meetings depending upon what the time was and whether a lot of these guys didn't have that kind of time anyway, with every single person on the team, which was a lot. That was like 3 weeks of
Yeah.
just full days of meeting the team members and getting to know them. And it was just like literally there was not a lot of work talk. It was just more like just getting to know who they are. Um,
Why
and
does that matter?
do what?
Why does that matter?
Because if people matter, the team matters. Your question was, how do you keep people going? And if I don't feel like, if I'm a part of a company or a project and I don't feel like I'm valued,
Hmm.
then I lose a lot of desire to contribute value. It's a weird, you know, and I think that that's common for a lot of people. It may not be for
Hmm.
everybody, but if you don't feel valued, why contribute value? Like, I think there's a reciprocal um, relationship there where people need to know they're cared for. Um, that being said, I have not been able to do that exact same thing with every team member here. We've been in a sprint, and now that I talk about that story, it makes me realize I do want to do that. So that is on my plate as something to
Nice.
do, um, just to hear people out, because you also get a chance to ask them, what are they struggling with?
Yeah.
What's going on? And hey, don't reveal anything if it's personal, but tell me what's going on. What are your issues here or whatever? There's it opens the doorway to building relationship with your team, um, and not having people feel like they're just a number or they're just they're not valued.
I love it. So, from a community perspective, and a community is like it's a loaded term, I would say, especially in Web3 gaming. Like for a lot of people, community means user base. For other people, community just means bots. I'll be honest. But in order to build like a real community, one that comments corn everywhere, fucking everywhere. Like I'm seeing that corn emoji on every single thing that you're putting out there, which I love. How do you create that culture? Like, how do you get people that you can't necessarily hop on a 15-minute call with everyone? We tried, like the early days of Game 7, we hopped on a call with every single community member, which turned out to be unscalable really quick. But since you can't give that time to everyone, because when it's 70,000 people,
Yeah.
it's a bit it's a bit different. How can you translate that feeling that they do matter without necessarily meeting them one on one? How do you guys approach it?
It's a great question. So it is a lot more challenging. I definitely can't meet with every community member. Although I would say that is something I respect and admire about my business partner, Rob. He is immersed in the community. He's in there so regularly that he's building relationships with a lot of them. But you can't. Uh, you can't do that full time, obviously. But like, I think the answer to that is partially a gift that crypto gives us. So, crypto and Web3 inherently has certain values that creates
Hmm.
a culture around that, right? And so we have a lot of people that are incredibly passionate about crypto already. So people are aligned. Now they're also passionate about gaming, because why were they drawn to Cornucopias in the first
Hmm.
place? So you have that in common, right? So you have a good working space already just from what Web3 is and what our project is and what these people were attracted to in it. So there's a lot of commonality there. Then it's about, how do you create the space for people to be um, to participate and be involved in what the community that you're building is, and then having certain values around that as well. And so yeah, and then it's about, and by create the space, I mean there needs to be rules and guidelines for what's acceptable and what's not in this community. You mentioned bots, and I think that's pretty funny. We've had to be very, very intentional about removing bots, We don't want any of that, like in our Telegram or in our Discord, because it destroys a community. If you just all you see is bot posts in there, it's just
Hmm.
like, why do I want to participate in this?
Yeah.
Um, and so removing a lot of the bots, while bots can make your numbers look good, it makes the community experience go down significantly. And if it's not fun, then why am I doing what I'm doing? We're about entertainment. We want to create value and fun experience for people, not just in the game, but also in our community.
I love it. So, how do you handle feedback and criticism from the community? Do you have like a streamlined process to collect that feedback? Are you just like what's
Well,
the process there?
yeah, and we that's another thing about crypto is when you have a passionate group of people, you get a passionate group of fudsters, you get a passionate group
Exactly.
of, hey, you need to do it this way. You get people that are very vocal about what they want. Um, and I think that's a great question. That the most important thing with feedback is first listening. Like, what are they really trying to say? What's the essence of what they're saying? Because sometimes you gotta read around curse words
Mhm.
or a bunch of um, negative sounding stuff, and look at what are they really trying to say here? What happened? Um, what upset them?
Mhm.
And if you can get to where you have a better understanding of where they're coming from, then you can align with them and say, hey, I get it. That makes sense. I would have the same frustration if I was you. Here's what we're doing to try to resolve these sorts of things. And, that's just kind of like a customer service type of approach where you value the person, you listen to the person, and you gain understanding, and you don't make assumptions or get too reactive with
Mhm.
them because they're being incredibly negative or whatever it may be. Um, yeah, it's challenging though, because especially on crypto Twitter, it can get
Yeah, it can
pretty
get really
toxic
bloody.
at times, and there's a lot
Yeah.
of I mean, some people I kind of feel like they've been paid to just be spewing
Amar.
100% negativity. I feel like it's a smear campaign in some regards, but you just you gotta get, and I have my weaknesses. We all do, right? Um, you
Twitter
gotta
isn't
try your
healthy,
best to
that's
not
for
get
sure.
too affected by that, but it does wear you out sometimes.
Yeah, I do agree. Twitter could be too intense uh, at times.
Yeah.
Um, I want to know more about Copy Cafe.
Copy
And
Cafe.
yes, I came
So
across it and I was like very intrigued. I think 20 something episodes now, which is very
wait,
impressive. So tell me
you
about it.
you came across it 20 episodes ago?
No, I came across it like a week ago, but saw that you put out like 20 episodes, and I was like, okay, you've been
No,
doing
no,
it for a
no.
while.
It's more like 111 or
Oh,
112. Yeah.
well, so I got it way wrong.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're
Is
okay.
it a
You might have
weekly
just seen
thing?
one screen or something,
I
but
might have.
no, no. It's I think it's 111 or 112, something like that, that we've done, and um, this started back a long time ago,
Hmm.
um, when really what I told Rob in the beginning is this. Rob's the co-CEO. I told
Hmm.
him that is very important to me with the nature of crypto and who we're dealing with, that we really build relationship of trust all
Hmm.
along the way, and that we share with people what we're doing. um, and we talked about doing this written update, which we may still go to that at some point, but really if it's about building relationship and trust, then
Yeah,
our
it can be
faces need
really
to
daily.
be, we need to, so we built a show called Kopi Cafe, where and the reason it's named Kopi Cafe is Kopi is the token name,
Yeah.
and part of the name of the game, right? But the cafe part is like, we have a thing we do where we say, what are you drinking? And that was about, let's keep it casual and
Hmm.
cool and conversational, uh, so that it's not too overproduced. It doesn't require way too much time for us to
Hmm.
execute on a weekly basis year after year, because that is challenging. You know,
For
if
sure.
you're doing a heavy produced kind of show that has a lot of pre-production required, you're not going to be able to execute week after week after week. And so we try to keep it as simple as we could with the branding to allow for us to create a quality experience and a transparent experience with our community, and they love it. There's Kopi Cafe watch parties now.
Yeah, the views,
Um,
the comments, like everything
yeah,
is like very, very solid. Like very
yeah,
solid.
yeah. They
So yeah, I love
they
it.
they love it, and we love it. It's incredibly hard. Sometimes I don't love it just because
For
I'm like,
sure.
oh my gosh, I just don't want to be on camera today, or
Yeah.
whatever it may be. Yeah,
It's
but
sometimes challenging for sure. Like creating a
yeah,
show and pretty much making that unwritten contract that
yep,
you from now on will post weekly without missing any week is very much challenging, but I think that's part of what makes it worth it, and I truly love it. Like the fact that it's the two co-CEOs sitting together for like, from what I've seen, it's like anywhere between like 45 minutes to an hour. I think that's really important. Like I think
yeah.
it creates, it builds a lot of trust, and I think the views, the comments are also very much a testament to that. And you mentioned the copy token. You're doing stuff different, very differently with the token. Can you unpack that a little bit?
Well, sure. I'm not sure what you mean by very different. What is there anything specific you meant, or?
I think in terms of the utility of and
Okay, yeah, yeah,
how. So I'll let you go into it.
yeah. So we wrote a pretty solid little white paper on the utility of our token, and then it actually in the beginning was like 30 pages or something like that, and then we had to really narrow it down and condense it and publish that to the community. We did that about 6 months ago, 9 months ago, something like that. Um, but a lot of thought, a lot of back and forth, a lot of meetings with the team to discuss what is the utility of the token going to be. Um, we're definitely going to be gradually implementing governance features
Hmm.
related to the token. That is still on the roadmap. It hasn't been done yet, but we do really value our community's feedback, and we've often made decisions around their feedback.
Hmm.
We're like, that's a great idea. Let's do it right now. Um, but in regards to the utility, the primary utility is buying in-game assets with the token in our marketplace, which we've just recently had a sale going where we're accepting Kopi token for in-game assets.
Hmm.
Um, and another thing about that really matters is that the plan is to gradually make it to where Kopi is the only thing that you use to buy assets in the game. Where it gets interesting is when we go to mainstream gamers. So we're about 6 months to 9 months ish
Hmm.
away from having a game that we believe is ready to go to alpha and ready for marketing to mainstream gamers.
Yeah.
That means there's enough content to where we feel like when we release this to mainstream gamers, we're going to get a positive word of mouth around it.
Hmm.
So that's a powerful place to be. The point I'm making there is that when we bring mainstream gamers in, they're going to buy, they don't know how to use crypto. They don't deal with crypto and creating wallets and all of this. We got to make that as seamless for them as possible. So the ideal thing would be what do they all know how to use, a credit card or
Hmm.
whatever it may be, Apple Pay, something like that. So that's the ideal way that we onboard them. They buy $200 worth of Kopi token,
Hmm.
um, that is distributed to their wallet, or it's a representation of a Kopi token. And on the back end, we go and buy it from a DEX, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. This creates a significant amount of utility for the token. And not only do we do that, but we have a buyback policy where the revenue from our in-game assets sales goes to buy back
Hmm.
Kopi. So we're constantly keeping this circular ecosystem and economy that we're creating to make it more of a real life fun game.
Yeah.
As you know, and also when we go to mainstream gamers, that's going to create a powerful new wave of utility from people that don't even have to know what crypto is. We handle the behind the scenes transactions and the
Yeah, and
crypto
I love the
utility there.
approach. I love the approach because I think that's the like for especially for an MMO, it's very challenging. Like the economy piece is very challenging, and I'm very intrigued to see like how it plays out because I like what you've done there.
You'd be really interested to know about our one of our board of we recently created a new board of advisors.
Okay.
Um, and Philip Black is, we have three different skill sets. So one of them is a co-founder of Star Citizen, Eric
Hmm.
Peterson. And so Star Citizen is a game that we have a lot of commonalities with how they've built that game, that MMO. But so Eric Peterson's on the board, a guy named Philip Black, and Jen Donahue, who has excelled in marketing in the gaming space. She's worked on League of Legends and quite a few well-known games. And then Philip is specializing in the economy. So I bring that up because Philip is very passionate about, this is one of the reasons we brought him onto the board, but about in-game economy. And, you know, when we have our meetings with him, he's always lighting it up with ideas, etc.
Yeah.
And so he specializes, he's done the game economies for over 50 games, I believe, and many of them very well known. And so he's a professional in the space that does not have a lot of the people with his skill set. Somebody that can do an in-game economy and do all that modeling for Web 2 and also for Web 3. That's a very, very narrow skill set in
For
the
sure.
world.
That's a unique
To
one.
have the experience that he has is invaluable to us. So it's great.
I might just need you to connect me and bring him on the show because I do love a good economy discussion.
Well, I
It's
should. I'm
something that
glad to. Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
something that
I'll introduce you.
I
Let
have a
me know.
passion for.
Just give me a reminder so I remember. But yeah.
No worries. Trust me, I will. We're coming to an end, so I want to finish it off with like one question that I think is important, just
Okay.
for the sake of, even though we we had a lot that I didn't manage to ask, but that just means that you will need to come back again in a different time
I'm glad
to
to, man. You're
to
very
complete this.
professional. You're doing a good job.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. So, if you could have gone back to the beginning of Cornucopias, what's the one thing that you would do differently?
Oh man. To be honest, I think there's a lot, but at the same time, there's so much that I wouldn't even change at all. Like, I think the pace that we've gone and how we've built, it's um it's been it's been nuts. I mean, I'm really proud of the team and the execution. Um, but I think the thing that bugs me the most, I couldn't even change.
Which is,
Because if I changed it, we wouldn't have been able to go at the pace that we uh, went on. So it's hard to find an answer to that question because I feel like the things that are coming to mind, we couldn't. There's nothing you can do about it.
hmm.
So to give you some more context, it bums me out that we're not all in the same location and that we can't meet in a central
Yeah.
office and give somebody a hug or shake their hand or whatever it may be. We can't do that because we hit the ground running and we built the team fast by having a work remote policy. We started in COVID times,
Yeah.
and it was 2021. So, you know, there was this newly emerging trend of being able to work from anywhere just by talking in the metaverse and being on video with one another. Um, and that enabled us to go at laser fast speed, right? But at the same time, um, the drawback is that I only get to see certain people one or two times a year, you know,
Yeah.
um, and that's tough, especially for the younger generation.
Mm-hmm.
In our company, there's a lot of people. Like I look back at, my 20s, and it was important that I was working with a group of people in the same physical space. So you need that a little bit more at that age, and
Yeah, and even
so
more
it
now.
bums me out for some of them because there's some struggles. There's a lot of um, people that are adversely affected by that
Mm-hmm.
disconnection.
I agree. I love it. I love the answer. I love everything, like everything about this conversation. I really, truly enjoyed. I would like to thank you very much for your time, for your insights, for your honesty in this episode. Very much appreciated. I think
Thanks.
it was a great one. Uh, if people want to find you and want to either connect with you or just check out Cornucopias, where can they find either?
Yeah, go to cornucopias.io. And I'm glad to send you all the links. We have a link tree that
It will be
has
in the
every.
description, though.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll
If
leave
you
it
can
there.
use our link tree, that would be really helpful. And then finding me specifically would just be Key of Joshua on Twitter. Um, and yeah, that's it.
Nice.
Cornucopias.io, link tree
Perfect.
to be included in the description.
Everything in the description. Perfect. Thank you very much. I want to thank also the listeners, for everyone that's tuned in and followed, like, subscribed, reposted, whatever it is that you might have done. Every little bit helps, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you very much.